Hello and congratulations on your purchase of this one-of-a-kind gingerbread house from Le Cordon Bleu Ottawa. I'm Chef Nicholas, and today in this video I will show you how to put together safely and beautifully this gingerbread house for your Christmas celebration. This is a one-person job, but of course feel free to surround yourself with little helpers. All you're going to need is a pair of scissors. So we'll start with the unboxing of the element, and you want to do so carefully in order not to have any of these elements breaking. So upon opening your box, you'll find the several facades of the house, such as the one with the front door, and the other facade, which is going to be the back of the house. Then we'll find the two sides of the house, which are going to be identical and which you can recognize because they have a round shaped window. Furthermore, we'll find two pieces that will constitute the roof of the house. Then, at the very bottom of the box, we'll find the base of the house, which is going to be already pre-sealed onto the presentation silver board, and that's entirely white in color. Finally, you'll find a smaller element, such as the two parts that are constitute the fence. Be careful when you remove these, they can be quite fragile. In a little white sachet, we'll find our chocolate-coated hazelnut and the chimney of the house. And finally, your 2 bags of icing. Once you safely unpacked all your elements and put away the packaging, we'll want to make sure that we'll start the assembly on an area where the house can be left for the next 12 hours after assembly to allow it to dry properly and to allow for a safer and steadier structure before it can be moved anywhere. So to begin the assembly, once you find your spot, we'll begin with piece number 1, which is going to be the base, and you'll notice that the base is pre-marked with the area where the house is going to be standing in order to allow enough space at the front to place the fence. Next, we'll prepare 1 bag of icing by opening the tip, taking off the blue cap, and you'll want to cut the tip open slightly larger than the original opening. You'll want an opening of about 3 mm. So you'll notice that the tip of the nozzle is straight to a certain point where it becomes conical. It is exactly at that point that you want to cut the tip with your scissor. Make sure that you have a clean cut in order to have a clean opening, and that will facilitate your piping. Now, as you're about to begin the assembling of the elements, make sure that you take your time, as each sticking point performed with the icing needs to dry for a period of 5 to 10 minutes before you proceed. As we're ready to begin, we'll just squeeze the icing down towards the tip of the piping bag, and we are ready to begin. So to begin with, you'll want to take the back of the house, which is piece number 2, and which you can recognize as it doesn't have the front door on it. And we'll take one side of the house, either piece number 3 or 4, because they are both identical and symmetrical. At this stage, we're going to take the base of the house, making sure that the position of the house is positioned at the back, and that the front space here where the fence is going to stand is at the front. And using the bag of icing, we're going to place a nice generous bed of icing onto that line at the back, and then one line on a side, either the left or the right. There we go. Then we're going to take the side of the house that we want to assemble, and if it's the left side that you're assembling, you'll want to apply icing on the left side of the piece. On the opposite, if you are going to the right side of the house, you'll want to place the icing on the right side of the piece. So this is the left side. We're going to go forward and apply icing onto the edge right here. A generous piping onto that area. And then we'll hold these two pieces together, sitting them into the bed that we piped onto the base, then joining them together right here on the side. So at this stage, this is where you want to leave the icing freshly applied to dry for 5 to 10 minutes before proceeding to the next step. So once you've allowed a little bit of time for that first step to dry out, we're ready to proceed to the next step, which is going to be assembling the opposite side of the house. So the right side if you started with the left, and the left side if you started with the right. This time a little bit different. Since we got some pieces already standing, we don't need to apply icing onto a piece that we are holding by hand. We can simply apply the icing onto the base once again, and also onto the edge of the back of the house, which is already standing. So that means we're going to apply a nice slow application of icing right here, and then follow onto the bed that is marked onto the base of the house, like such. And then carefully take the other side, and we're gonna sit at the base first, and then lift it up to join to the back of the house. Once again here, before you proceed, you want to allow another 5 to 10 minutes for that freshly applied icing to dry. Next, to complete the surrounding of the house, we'll apply the front. Once again here, we don't need to hold any piece in our hands prior to applying the icing. We can simply do so onto these two standing edges, as well as a bed on the base. Then we'll take the front of the house, the piece with the front door attached to it. We'll sit that piece onto the base at first, make sure that it has a good surface of contact to the icing, and then we'll lift it to have a contact with the two edges right here. And then once again, we'll allow a few minutes to dry. Alright, now let's proceed to the assembly of the roof. So for this, you'll want to pay attention to the slight difference between the two pieces that composes the roof. because one of them has a little indentation here into the snow melting design, and that is the position where the chimney is going to be standing. So that means that you want to determine whether your chimney is going to be at the front or at the back of the house. This is entirely your choice, as both pieces are identical in shape and size, symmetrical, and they will both fit on either side. For this house right here, I will choose to go with the chimney at the back of the house, so therefore I will put the piece of the roof that doesn't have any chimney compartment here at the front. So we'll go ahead and then apply our icing onto the edges of the front part of the roof. Now we're about to assemble a piece that is going to be positioned on a slope, so you'll want to be rather generous with the icing to make sure that it holds well. And we'll make sure that we position the piece with the snow drip towards the tip of the roof, and you want to align this edge with the point that will give you a slight little overhang of the roof on the base. Apply light pressure, let go, and once again allow 5 to 10 minutes to dry. Once this is done, we'll simply complete the house with the other part of the roof, repeating this exact same operation. So icing around the edge, generously. Place the elements, ensuring that the snow drips are towards the top and alongside the chimney compartment. Light pressure onto the icing application to ensure a nice surface of contact. Release and allow a few minutes to dry. At this stage, we are ready to assemble the final and slightly smaller elements, which are the fence, our chimney, as well as our chocolate-coated hazelnut. So for the fence, to start with, we're going to take the two fences upside down. So we have the smooth edge facing up, and then the pointy end facing down. And then onto that smooth end, we're going to come and pipe a thin, continuous application of icing. And then we'll turn them back the right way up and place our fence at the front of the house on either side of the door in order to create a little pathway to the door. Next, we'll open our little sachet containing the chimney and the chocolate-coated hazelnut. And then for the chimney, you'll notice that we have one opening which is angled and one opening which is straight. So the angled opening will sit onto the angled surface of the roof in order to have the straight opening facing up. So to apply the icing, we'll turn our chimney upside down with the angled opening facing up. And on that angled opening, we'll apply our icing. And then we'll simply turn it back around the right way up and sit our chimney onto the compartment. At this stage, to assemble the chocolate-coated hazelnut onto the house, you'll want to come forward with your scissors once again and cut open the tip slightly larger to create an opening of about 5 mm this time. Now it is entirely up to you where you decide to assemble these little chocolate-coated hazelnuts onto the house. Where I suggest is that the majority of them goes safely on top of the roof. So that's where we're going to pipe a generous bed of icing. And this icing application not only will seal some of our chocolate hazelnuts into place onto the house, but will also have a purpose of strengthening the two parts of the roof together as it dries out. Now obviously feel free to add a few of these chocolate-coated hazelnuts somewhere onto the roof of the house, as well as somewhere towards the base. At which stage you will notice that your house is complete, but you still have quite a bit of space and quite a bit of icing in order to personalize your decoration. Feel free to do so. My suggestion is that you start by decoratively covering the sticking point that we've done earlier with a slightly more decorative application. There we go. So during that final personalization part, please of course feel free to let your artistic mind, your imagination, as well as the one of your little helpers to guide you along the way. Bear in mind that it is very important, once it is fully assembled, to leave it for a period of about 12 hours undisturbed and untransported in order to allow the icing to dry safely and soundly. This will then give you a gingerbread house which is solid enough to transport and display on your Christmas decoration. But please remember that everything is entirely edible and entirely made from scratch here at Le Cordon Bleu Ottawa. Thank you very much and have a very Merry Christmas.